Thank you very much, Mr. Sampath. Ladies and gentlemen, I should also have you know that Mr. Sampath is a member of the prestigious Young Presidents Organization. Well, friends, every Dun & Bradstreet event is such a success because of its concept and content, but equally so because of the brands that support it. Tonight, our thanks go out to the following partners: Title Partner, BSE, Gold Partner, PC Jewelers, Principal Partner, SMC Global Securities Limited, Television Partner, ET Now. Tonight is all about equities. And of course, when it comes to equities in this part of the world, what bigger name than the Bombay Stock Exchange, or BSE, Asia's first ever stock exchange? We are privileged that BSE has once again chosen to associate itself with this event. We are equally privileged to have as our next speaker the MD and CEO of BSE. He is the most sought after name in the high-ranking business circles, as is evident from the prestigious boards and committees that he sits on. Among those a few: SEBI, government and regulatory bodies, FICCI and CII. On a night like this, who better, I ask again, to address us than one who has been a part of the 5-member team that set up the NSE and its equities and derivatives segment, later the architect of Nifty. Once the CIO of the Reliance Group, he was ranked amongst the top 50 CIOs in the world, and for those who love cricket, endured by his former appointment as the CEO of Mumbai Indians. A recipient of Zee Business Award for Business Transformation, I'm delighted to give you MD and CEO of BSE Limited, Mr. Ashish Kumar Chauhan.
Shri Jayant Sinha, Shri Kaushal Sampath, friends, ladies and gentlemen. By being the sponsors of this event, usually I get to talk to you once a year. But since we belong to the same industry, I think we talk every day, all of us. We have a personality with us today, Shri Jayant Sinha. I know him a little bit, and I think at some point in time, in near future probably, I will not be surprised. And I actually pray that he becomes the finance minister of India, so give him a big hand. And he has selected to be in our midst, so I would be also very eager to hear his views on India and the economy and so on and so forth. As Kaushal started, or rather ended with saying, the big bull is saying it's the mother of all bull markets. But being a stock exchange CEO, I don't actually get elated when markets go up, or don't get too worried when markets go down, as far as it happens in orderly manner, and there are reasons for that. But from Indian perspective, being an Indian citizen, and all of us are very patriotic, one thing I've been asking myself, why I'm so much more optimistic today than ever before? It's an interesting situation. Very little changed pre-May and post-May in terms of the actual activities, now that the activity is picking up. But a single man, changed the mood of the country. And there are several issues a country like India faces. We are 17% of world population in 2% of land mass. It is literally more than 8 times the world average in terms of per square foot occupation by humans. It's a huge thing. And we have complete lack of infrastructure. If you go anywhere, you will figure we have very little infrastructure. The demographics is an issue. We are still growing in numbers. We are going to grow even larger than 1.3 billion we are today. Why is it that? And we have been grappling with inflation and many other things, unemployment and so on and so forth. What is it that it changed over last 1 year since the last event took place, last award ceremony took place? And many people tell me that the new government is lucky, that the oil prices have come down by practically 25-30% or more. Today it's running at 80 or below 80. Even gold somehow, I think today it had to select today, but gold went down by 2% in the world market. It is now below 1200. So effectively, India had two twin issues in imports. Both could explain the entire current account deficit. We were importing $10 billion of net oil every month and around $5 billion of gold net every month. Suddenly, everything looks rosy because you have to spend a little less or hugely less on oil and gold. And your exports, which is basically about labor, and also the remittances, they don't go down as much. And so effectively, it looks very, very interesting from even inflation perspective that we were importing inflation because of a current account deficit and so on and so forth. Suddenly, it is changing. The other issue is that the demographics is looking really, really stark. From any angle, we are going through a huge issue, or we are going to go through over next 20 years. We need to create 1.5 crore new jobs every year for next 20 years, 30 crore new jobs. And it's not a small number, although from Indian perspective, we are all used to listening to these numbers, crores and lakhs and so on and so forth. But 1.5 crore is almost the size of Australia, a continent, in terms of population. It is also slightly larger than US's total unemployment. When unemployment numbers come out in US, we are all glued to the television sets trying to figure out whether market will go up or down. But they need to, for rest of their lives, whatever time US exists, if it does, they need to only create 1.5 crore jobs. We need to create every year. And how is it that we are going to create? For me, the next 20 years, India's only job is to create jobs. And how do we create these jobs is going to be much more interesting. One of the hypotheses I have is that in next 20 years, 70% of the jobs will be such that we have not thought it today. We are not aware that they will exist. For example, 20 years back, did any one of us think that there will be something called BPO? But most of the new jobs are coming in those sectors. And what is happening is that the world is changing very, very rapidly. Last 30 years, only one technology saved India, which is information technology. Next 30 years will make last 30 years look like a trailer, look like very slow. Next 30 years is going to have huge number of life-changing technologies, fundamental technologies, which will actually change the way we live, the way we manufacture, the way we talk to each other, the way we actually interact, and the way we live. That includes 3D printing, that includes nanotechnology, body parts. Today only I read somebody has grown from pluripotent stem cell, some stomach of a human, and so on and so forth. So effectively, of course, robotics and genetically modified agriculture and so on and so forth. Many, many technologies, probably 20 technologies which have more potential than IT had in that sense. And those 20 technologies cannot be learned by old people. They are to be learned by youngsters. And India is fortunate to have these youngsters amongst them. More than 50% of India is below age 25. They are hungry. They want to learn newer things. And good thing about India is over the last 20, 30 years, we have created, by accident, by design, I don't know, but we have created a framework which worships technology. We have created a culture which worships science. And that is going to take India forward. I have huge hope that young Indians who are now coming into their class 10th and 12th and so on and so forth, the young Indians who are currently in their kindergartens, when they grow up, they are going to create huge wealth. The old wealth, which is lying in other countries, may not be able to grow. But our human population, if directed in the right direction, it has a huge potential to not only change infrastructure, and for me, infrastructure is easy to change. US, Europe, Japan, China, we can learn from them and actually develop infrastructure in a much lower cost than what they did, in much lower time than what they did, because we can learn from them the new tools, technologies, and so on and so forth. And so infrastructure is easy to create. It requires funds, but other than that, it is pretty much easy to create. Of course, the solar and so on and so forth is going to change life again fundamentally, the way we know it. The other part is that with the new government, a majority government after so many decades, and with the new leader, I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Just to give you a perspective, the government looks purposeful, it is taking decisions every day, and I am really hopeful that this is going to be a totally different world. If you just recall, pre-91 and post-91, what did we do? We had a great steel frame of what I call license permit Raj. If you had to manufacture, say, shaving blades, somebody sitting somewhere in Delhi will figure out how many blades India needs. And then he or she or his boss will give somebody a license to manufacture X blades in a Y place, which probably didn't have electricity, nor steel, nor anything, but he had to produce. But he was very happy that he had got that license, and also it ensured that nobody else gets the license. But more importantly, if that guy created a capacity of even producing few more blades, he would be a criminal. That was pre-91. And post-91, what we did? We just changed the license permit Raj. Now you could actually produce many things without licenses over 5-10 years. But the steel frame remained intact. That red tape, which Prime Minister mentioned many times over last 6 months, the red tape remained. That hordes of inspectors who come every now and then on every manufacturer's plants on Diwali, Holi, and so on and so forth to inspect and do many things has still remained. From pre-91 to post-91, what we did is we took away the license permit Raj. Only one portion of a great steel frame we took away, and lo and behold, we had 7.5% average growth rate over last 20 years. Imagine if you can take away that red tape. The energy that will be unleashed. Today, unless proved otherwise, you are not supposed to do anything. Unless you are given that approval to do something, still you are worried that you are not supposed to do anything. If you can take away that fear from the Indian citizens, how much of energy that will be unleashed, how much creative energy that will be unleashed, how much wealth will be created. And that's why I think India has a great future. Government, if it continues to cut the red tape, India is going to go great lengths. Now, the other issue comes is what is it that we can do? When the government was getting formed, even before that, there was a lot of hope and optimism. And one of the conferences I was in, participating in Delhi between the election and the results, many people were hopeful that it's going to be now our government, the broking industry said, it's going to be our government and whatever we want will happen. And I said, boss, but everyone thinks that way. So ultimately, it is not what government is going to do for you, it is what you are going to do for your country. And for me, a broking industry can do a lot for the country. An ecosystem of stock exchanges, brokers, depositories, clearing corporations. We are basically what I call trust markets. The markets which connect the present with future. When you buy, many people tend to believe that when you buy electronic goods on Flipkart or Snapdeal or wherever, you are doing something similar or something akin to investing in stock market. It is and it is not. The process of investing or process of buying may look the same, but what you are doing is you are giving money in stock markets, while as in the other markets you are actually buying goods against that. So here you are putting a trust that my money will not be cheated away. There is somebody, there is some regulatory authority, there is a stock exchange, there is government which will protect my rights. And that is the trust market. And you are basically the people who manage that trust on behalf of the society. You are motivating other people to invest in stock markets. And over the last 140 years since BSE was established, BSE has helped India create $1.5 trillion of wealth, now 1.6 today. How has it happened? But for me, and somewhere on the line, when we became independent, since then, we have given too much importance or much more importance to banks and banking system than stock markets. Governments have always given more importance to banking system, but somehow, surprisingly, the banking system has shrunk compared to stock markets. Today, the entire banking system is worth around 80 lakh crore total. And compared to that, only equities market is worth 96 lakh crore. How did this happen? All of us thought that was the big thing and this was a satta bazar. What happened? Perhaps without our knowledge, foreigners, Indians have started trusting the stock markets more than what all of us policymakers would want it to. It's another story. But for me, that trust we need to build on. We still have $1.6 trillion, but only 2% of India invests. In last 20 years, we have become totally automated. Completely thoroughly. We have depositories instead of share certificates. We have, instead of floors, we have mobile-based trading and screen-based trading and so on and so forth. But how is it that we have not been able to get newer investors into Indian stock markets? What did we do wrong? Did stock exchanges do something wrong? Did regulators do something wrong? Did investors do something wrong? Did companies do something wrong? What did we do wrong? And for me, it's a question which we need to ask ourselves as an industry, including brokers, is that what did we do wrong or what we need to do right to take Indian investors from 2.6 crore to 26 crore by 2030? To take Indian market cap from $1.6 trillion to $16 trillion in next by 2030. Can we do that? If we can do that, then we would have done a great patriotic act. Of course, we would have earned a lot of money and probably some more awards would have been won over next 15, 20 years. But it would have been a great act of patriotism if we can do that. And for me, the onus is on the industry to not remain confined to larger cities, small number of larger cities, but go out, convince people that this is one market where your interests will be protected and you must protect those interests. The asymmetry of information which is there between the promoters of the companies, the managers of the companies and the general investors, that needs to be reduced. The SEBI is taking steps, the exchanges are taking steps, but ultimately it is up to the brokers, it is up to the exchanges to ensure, we have education of investors. Having said all this, what is it that BSE has done in last 1 year? Last year also I gave you a hope that I will give you a response time of 200 microseconds, and I was myself not confident. Today, I can tell you that our average response time is around 190 microseconds. In 1 second, there are 10 lakh microseconds. We give you a response of 1/5000th of a second. By the time you close your eyes and open, there would have been at least 2,000 such responses that would have happened. Our capacity is now 500,000 orders in a second at 200 microseconds, not at a larger sort of response time, but at 200 microseconds, I can take 500,000 orders a second. Just to give you a perspective, if IRCTC, many of us do railway bookings, if IRCTC does 5 lakh bookings in a day, it is a record day for them. We can do that in a second with the response time of 200 microseconds. And we are going to take this response time to 20 microseconds. Many people think that why speed matter? Why such speed matter? An iota of speed over others matter for getting the information faster and executing faster. And that is where you need to actually start thinking that why we are not going to the airport in bullock carts and why we go to the car over the last 50, 60 years, right? So effectively, speed matters in every aspect of life. And 20 years, BSE was slower than NSE. From 1994 to 2014, first time in last 20 years, BSE is 10 times faster than any other exchange in the country. 10 times faster. You get information 10 times faster, and you execute 10 times faster. It's 100 times sort of issue. And if you stay, in 1994, people who stayed only on BSE became irrelevant. You can imagine in next 20 years, if you don't come on BSE, you will become irrelevant. In last 6 months, our number of orders coming to BSE has gone up from 15 crore a day to 45 crore a day. But I can take 100 times more number of orders. The amount of liquidity that has increased in BSE is manifold. Many of us have not looked at it yet. I sincerely urge you that if you want to remain relevant, come on BSE. With that, thank you very much for listening to me.